Yay. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday book launch. My name is Malika Albrecht, and I am the founding editor of Redheaded Stepchild. We are here tonight to celebrate, and this is why we have such an awesome group, because we all love Regina Garcia and the new book, Firetalker's Daughter. I can't wait till my copy comes. Um, any day now, any day
Any day,
now.
any day.
Yeah, and by the way, there is still time to buy a copy, and I will put a link in the chat section. Regina, are you signing copies for people? Can they get one directly from you?
They would have to, so what you would do, I guess you could have it, I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. So
Okay.
if you're in Greenville, signing a copy is absolutely no problem. And if you're not, it still isn't, you could, I guess you could mail it to me and I could mail it back, or you could give them my address and they could send it to me and I could send it to you. But then you'd have to get,
Okay.
I'm going to figure it out. I'll figure it out.
I was gonna say, so the best way to get in touch with you would be maybe via Facebook or okay.
Facebook, or if you wanna text me, I'll give you my number. So you can text
that
me.
in the chat section.
That's good.
Thank you, Regina. So just a little bit about Regina, and I do want to talk specifically about the Firetalker's Daughter. It honors the power of mother's love and tender teaching, the value of ancestral gifting and wisdom, the necessity of mourning for movement, and the audacity to hope and act for a more just future. And I think this is key to so much of Regina's writing. And if you haven't heard Regina read, you are in for one hell of a treat. I would love to live that over again. The first time that I met you and you read something and I said, you have got to go to Wednesday night poetry. Oh, such an exciting day. It was such an exciting night. And we've had so many of those over the past 3 years. Regina is the 2021 National DAR American Heritage Poetry Award winner. 2021 North Carolina Literary Review James Applewhite semi-finalist, and is published in a variety of journals and anthologies. Additionally, she has both written and video poetry featured in South Florida Poetry Journal, Up the Staircase Quarterly, the Book of Black, and the Amistad and the Black Light Project, which is a documentary. She has you already had this though. It came out in Main Street Rag. It's not forthcoming anymore. I can go ahead and say it happened. And poetry and voice work to be featured in the Sacred Nine Project, which also happened at Tulane University with Joan, who's here tonight. So I am going to turn it over to you. Thank you, Regina, for letting us celebrate with you. I'm going to remind everybody to please mute so that we can really focus on tonight's reading. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Malika. I'm always just tickled to hear people read what has happened on paper, because it still feels very, very new to me. I will say that I've been a poet for most of the life that I can remember. But it's just now that I'm kind of getting into this whole publishing thing, and it has been quite a journey. I will say that it probably wouldn't have happened like it's happened except for COVID that drove us inside and kind of still opened me to this wonderful poetry community. So I definitely want to take the time to thank my poetry community. Thank you so much to the incomparable Malika. She is a wonderful, she's not just, I don't just think of her as a fellow poet. I think of her as my sister. I have this group of sister poets that just kind of, we try to keep each other uplifted, and it just means so much. So thank you for creating this opportunity, not just for me, but for other people as well. I'm also quite pleased to have Miss Olivia Warren here today. She's a senior, and you heard some from her already. She's a senior at East Carolina University. She's here with us this evening, and she was introduced to me by her mentor, who is my oft-times partner in literary and autoethnographic crime, Professor Gerald Miles. From East Carolina University. And of course, I could name names and skip names. I got to shout out my sister Karen, because she's the one that makes sure that I'm awake for the events. So we're excited about that. I'm excited about Karen. So on to the Firetalker's daughter. It is indeed a labor of love. It is a dedication to my mother, who is a Firetalker. She's not a practicing one now, but she's a Firetalker in a line of great Firetalkers. And my first poem, the first one that I will read, will give you a little more information about what that is. It's an energy healing gift, passed from generation to generation, male to female. But that's not all she was, and most people didn't know that, because when you have that gift, it's not necessarily something that is promote. You don't talk about it. You don't say, hey, I'm a Firetalker over here. But it is a gift that she had. But she was a school librarian by profession for over 30 years. She was the one that put that first book of poetry in my hand, my little hand. That poetry book was Little Brown Baby by Paul Lawrence Dunbar. And, I will say that I read poetry first, and then I spoke it, and then I wrote it. That's the order in which it came. And I've always loved poetry and the roles that poetry plays in the world. Not just in any one culture. People say, well, does poetry matter? Yes, poetry matters. When I heard that, I was like, what are they talking about? Of course it matters. It has fueled movements. And so it is very important to me. Over the years, it has been an important part of my evolving spiritual practice and belief system. And I've talked about that with some of you before. And so what I would tell you about this work is that this work is born of cultural observations, of multicultural interactions, of historical revelation, of my own joys and sorrows, my journey as a woman, my journey as a Black woman in a society that acts like it doesn't always know what to do with me, and my love for family and hope for more. This is what I hope that you will feel, and I pray that you will connect in the ways relevant to you and your work and your place in this world. And I'll be sharing some new work as well, along with a few comments as I go. So I'm going to begin with the first poem, which was written last in this collection, and it is the title poem of this collection, entitled The Firetalker's Daughter. My mother talked the fire out of burns, eased the pain, as did her father, as did his mother, as does my son, as will his daughter. It had to pass me by, as I was not a man-child, yet my mother looked at me like I was sun in the sky, like I was promised. She said that while I would not have that gift, I would have a great many. And even though I couldn't talk it, I most certainly carried it. Power. I entered the world very tiny and gray, with a gray ring around my brown eyes, said I was scrawny with bright eyes that had seen before. Mama said a great many long gone spirits dwelled where I was born, and when it was time to leave that place, she was well ready to go. They worried her incessantly. She told me many other things, like how great aunties Hat and At were healers, and women would come to them for many an unknown ailment, and how God put those abilities in us because of what God knew we would need to survive, for our families to survive, for our people to survive. My mother marched in the movement. My mother educated the masses. My mother spoke the fire. But sometimes my mother held her tongue. My mother can no longer tell me any more about these truths I have discovered are very real. That is to say that she lives, but she cannot say. Sometimes her tongue gets confused. Sometimes her tongue is at rest. I cannot talk the fire, yet I am fire. I know this because she told me so. Truth. Voice. I have screamed for an eternity, and sometimes it has been powerful and terrible. It has moved the danger away. I have raised my torch and dared anybody to silence me. I have bared pointed teeth, saliva pouring down my chin, eyes bulging, feet ready to run and jump and kick. I am the sound. I am the rage. Yet sometimes I am tired. Frightened? No. Deathly afraid. I have called upon my mother's spirits, those assigned to me, to hold back the devils that have come for me, come for my children, the greatest sources of my fear, feeling the wind and wave of their hands as they dodge my grasp. My old woman spirit guides have heard my entreaty and arrived, pocketbook handles in the crooks of their arms. They've sung holy war songs and done ring dance and lit fires to purge my fear and sacrificed it on the altar of womanhood. No room for it. Fear in blackness. No room for it. Fear in womanness. What a tragic combination of expectations. For a time, I thought I could fear without fear. Turns out that I cannot have those moments. Gotta put on my good Black woman, grease her down, smother her in high blood pressure, cook her down in bad cholesterol, ban her like a tumor, and stand like it's no matter. Yet I am matter. I am water, I am blood, I am bone, I am skin, I am eyes, I am limbs, I am lungs, I am ears, I am heart. I am weeping doubt. I am fire. My tough old women don't care. Better crazy than crying. My old woman spirits have told me that I must be strong. That's what the stars told them. They have lived it. They know. No pallets to rest the charges given me. So, I like to say, if I could have created this soundtrack for this book, it would be like a cross between Nina Simone, Beyonce, and Jill Scott. Any and all of them. I am fueled very often by music, by other poems even. And so you'll find in this poetry, there's a certain rhythm that expresses a mood that hopefully is conveyed throughout this work. This poem is entitled Deeper, Further, Back, A Woman's Tale. Starting here, going deeper, down deeper, past petty, small sadness, past last cursing, self-cursing, steadily looking further, deeper, lower torture. Years before, auto-maiming, mental maiming, live the rename, formally named, shame name, love name, birth name, ancient names. Buried bones burrowing deeper in scorched earth. Back before pulled bellies, stretching, hanging, distorted jelly. Roads back, time back, lives back, back before when simple never was simple. Long time, lost time. Dark hearts made darker times. Before then, when was it? What trauma-skinned knee changed us, changed me? What wordless words blamed me? Why won't they release me? Look further back, woman. Woman before, woman before, woman before. Interference everywhere. So, you know, we think about like what women have to go through, you know, not even just ourselves, but women before us, women after us. And, you know, women are actually on bills and in parts of platforms in ways that, you know, many of us don't want to be. We want to be able to maintain our own, have our autonomy. This poem was written for a friend who was having struggles at her job. She couldn't see beyond what was happening to her. And this is something that my mother would tell me. And I actually wrote this poem for her. This is called They Have Taken Nothing. They have taken nothing. The inconvenient who interfere, mind bound to oppress, not your skin, your smile, your hair, your bones, your heart, your beauty, nothing, despite the ripping, tearing, gnashing. For you will be blessed, anointed, reassembled in this land and new lands. They have taken nothing, not your mind, not your essence, not your gifts, not that which was seated in you, not the fire spirit that finds rest in your belly, not the blackbird that sings the song in your soul. They have taken nothing. The fields in which your thoughts walk, the suns that even your closed eyes see, the waters under which you swim, over which you glide, unfettered by monsters, minstrels, mistrials. The ancestors guide you. The Creator made you, God-born saves you, Spirit covers and reveals you and reveals to you. They have taken nothing. They have tricks with no power, shifting lights with no illumination, hidden hands, weak grasp, no understanding of your station. They have taken nothing. Only closed doors, piteous attempts at control, for your amulets are scattered strategically around the realm, around the world. Possessive earthen carnality is futile. They have taken nothing, for you are here, holding the keys to every possession, an unrealized obsession that you have, that you are meant to have, your riches stored, your then, now, and to be, live in readiness. They have taken nothing. You still have everything. I'm going to move into some poetry that focuses on this concept, this idea, this social justice. As I mentioned before, my mother was an educator. She also marched in the movement. So I grew up with that is something that's been kind of strongly embedded in me. The importance of not just speaking for yourself, but being a voice and having a platform for others. And so, you know, no matter who the others are. So this is entitled "The Fire Consumes," and I know many of you know what's happening in Florida, you know, and I just keep thinking what's happening in Florida could actually happen here. It is very concerning. I actually wrote this about 2 years ago, but it actually even seems more relevant today than it did when I wrote it, which I think is kind of sad. It also is an homage to the people who lost people, lost property, and lost history through fire. The fire that consumes the burnings of Black histories. Have you ever seen fire, the kind that consumes a house, a block, a street, a community, a town, a nation? Have you ever stretched fingers towards fire because you wanted to feel the last gust of breath before the flames melted? Mortar from brick, wood from steel, skin from meat, from sinew, from bone? Have you ever jumped at the crack and splinter before the crash, hid your face to escape the blowing soot, covered your nose to block the smell of escaping gases, the incineration of flesh, squeezed eyes shut to restrain the release of tears? Fire destroys completely everything except memory. Those who have lived through fire never forget all that was lost, cannot be returned, cannot be restored. Pre-fire life flickering in memory. Have you ever known the indignity of stolen memory, of erasure of thought, disallowing of necessary history passed on from mind to mind, no collective storage, trashed as disposable waste? Scores of nations and families of people relegated to one layer of life lived, while other layers burned away, withdrawn from the light of day, layers that could have lit the illumination of minds, the awareness of conditions, the recognition of irreverence and unrighteousness, the tackling of generational traumas, the overcoming of fear, the pride of resilience, layers of heated memory deemed villainous, tossed into the ashes by thieves who dread the power that it brings, and the rise of indomitable spirits from the embers. Malika, can you tell me how I am for time? Okay.
You're doing great. Keep going.
Keep going. Okay. All right. If you, I don't know where you were in during this time of quarantine, if you didn't know of the or learn of the plight of many people of color in regards to the interactions with the police. We saw many people struck down unjustly. As a poet, as a mother, as a woman who identifies as African American, it came out in my poetry. So this one is actually in the book, The Firetalker's Daughter, and it's titled "Die No More," a requiem for Breonna Taylor. I take her up in my arms, a daughter I never knew. Daughter, die no more. Spirit ushers her towards the sky, away from a land too broken to care or understand that she was the one it could have loved, protected. not rejected solid life, nor cooked down what she was meant to be, likening her legacy to wilted greens down a drain, never to be redeemed. Daughter, die no more, leaving me to keep her name on my pen, in my fingertips, a daughter I never knew because they sent word by vile, loathsome lips that the bullet that tore through her live body unjustified, ripped the light from her eyes, would not be held accountable. And her only justification would come in her by and by. Daughter, die no more. My children march on streets of hate in a land that reviles and berates skin and embraces sin, calls evil forth, names it God and invites it in. No God I know, blessed daughter, as you will find when you join the fold of real God divine. Daughter, die no more, die no more. For Elijah McClain. This is entitled Elijah, Surely. Last known words from Elijah McClain. You are beautiful and I love you. Try to forgive me. I'm sorry. Surely the air saw the young man walking, perhaps whispering to himself and thinking maybe of the kittens he loved so, and the violin that calmed them and him, and a loud soothing expression, bow, string, bridge, wood, synchronized, filling night air, evoking smiles, belying the reality of his peculiar, beautiful diversity of learning and being. I imagine he made some onlookers smile, and they thought of him as peace in the world, of love, a beloved, precious, curious fellow with childlike tenderness, a sensitive soul. Just surely he is missed, as evidenced by the orchestra of the aggrieved who swallowed their pain and poured it into the song that floated into air beyond clouds and into the stars to which he surely, probably, no doubt, escaped. And curled in craters, cushioned by creatures beloved, living their 10th life, and soothed by drifting earthborn symphonic lullabies, ever crooning, reminding them that he did nothing wrong. Surely he was loved by his mother, by others. Surely. Blue. The color blue indicates a temperature even hotter than white. Blue flames usually appear at a temperature between 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit and 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The poet said, she said, grief is not the only geography I know. And my heart thumped loudly in affirmation and sorrow and fear, for I can plot clouds that hang dark and black and low, whose water cannot quench the blue flames of this fire. Bluest despair, bluest depravity, driven by derision and exclusion and death. The bluest eye scorches outward and deep to find the flaw in poverty and pain, and it glories as it sees no promise running wild across a loveless terrain. This bluest burning orb rotates inward to its God and offers sacrifice. I know well the land charted as chasms ever widening, swallowing dreams. I know well the land blackened blue from the unchecked flaming of self-anointed authority. For in this land, the brilliance of sky and the cool of sea have no say, and layers peel away, incinerated into nothingness as we burn inside, outside, in, embodied in horror. This is the land on which I live. I am brought here to stand atop, to add to the mounting mourning of ashes and darkened, weary bones. I'm going to, because I know I'm probably running out of time. I'm going to do two more. That's okay. Two more. Okay. This next one is entitled Up Above My Head. It came as I was actually thinking about the song Up Above My Head and what that means. I'm a church girl, so here we go. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Oh, there must be a God somewhere. There must be a God somewhere. There must be a God somewhere. Isn't there still something singing? My grandmother promised me that there would be, as did her mother, as did her daughter tell me, as I now tell my own to look up, for surely there is music in the air that stays the savage hand of the enemy. Grandma said, call him and you will see. And for years, I went on believing that there's always something singing just above our heads, something that offers warning, something that gives a witness, a sonata, a spiritual, a soulful selah that ultimately asserts there must be a God somewhere up above my head, somewhere. I believe this most times, but sometimes I don't know how to take this music. I can't always hear it. And sometimes the notes are distant and strained. And it seems to me that the music won't stop these bullets from blasting babies backwards, or strike down tongues that eviscerate and malign, or cut off hands that will not let go my womb, my choice, my life, or cast these vile isms into the pit so that the world won't look at my children like monsters the moment they hit the air. There must be a God somewhere in my bones. I believe this. So maybe what we need to do is stop always looking in the air, invite the music into our hearts. Make it our own. Maybe we need to find our own music and see our own God. Then maybe we could find that music that reminds us that holiness is living in our hands and in our hearts, winding round our DNA, buried in our cells, and it sings loudest when we work. And we can become the music that can make a difference, God in us. If we would just run towards the fire and not faint. The music in the air should dwell in us too, every day, everywhere, with loud, insistent, consistent refrain. The last couple of poems that I read are actually not in the book. I forgot to say that, but I wanted to kind of share with you just how I'm thinking and kind of my process as you can see it through my poetry. And certainly I didn't want to read every poem in the book because I want you to buy the book. So, but this last poem that I'm going to read is actually a poem that was just accepted in Compass Rose Literary Journal. It is a poem that is speculative in nature. I always like to end with a little hope. I believe in connecting history to present, to future, to solve some of these issues that we have. This poem is entitled, I, Harriet. I see Harriet pulling pen soles out from clay, scraping matted eyes. I hear Harriet, golden black, steadfast resolve, etching promise paths. I feel Harriet. She echoes through weary souls. Keep moving or die. I move, Harriet, from grave to sky to guide us, star settled in skin. I am Harriet, bathed in black light prophecy, cloaked in new mission. I, Harriet, cries, insistent cadence rings clear, come into the woods. I, Harriet, lives. Keep eyes stayed on lands of hope. Old wisdom pours free. Born from Mother Star, she invites our children, those looking for her star, they find her gazing. She imparts ancient wisdom that fires the sky. Thank you.
Regina, that was fabulous.
Thank you.
People, y'all can unmute and just give her a moment of our deep appreciation. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Oh
There's
my
so
great
many-
goodness.
Beautiful. Hail Regina,
Thank you.
Mm.
queen of poetry. Thank you.
Ugh,
That was church to my soul.
I do. I feel like I just went to church.
Right.
Wow.
That's
I feel invigorated.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
Get
awesome.
you to come speak to my church. That's
Mhm.
Oh, well, you know, I'll go. Tell them, Malika, I'll go.
I was just gonna
Yeah, I
say, oh, we UUs have been passing her around. We're like,
Amen.
yes, I burned.
I'll go see that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do want to circle back. There's some comments in the chat section. You're gonna have so much fun, Regina.
Oh my goodness.
But you know, I think one of the ones that I really think might resonate with everybody is the idea of fierce mother love and how your fierce mother love, you know, is embodied in your mother, embodied in you, and how your mother love fiercely draws in others, speaks for those who cannot speak for themselves. And it's incredibly powerful as a listener, as a reader, to hear that fierce mother speak.
You know, I will say that I'm an ever ready mother. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I every time I see someone I feel has been done an injustice, they become mine. It's different, and I don't know how to articulate. They don't even know me, you know, they don't even know me, but I guess Karen and I talk a lot about being empathic. And so, you know, maybe that's why it comes out so often in the work, that advocacy, that sense, that feeling of the need to advocate for others that many mothers do have. That I think that's what kind of fuels a good portion of my work.
Yes. And I wanted to add something else. I love how you read, because I feel like your reading maintains or still has that power that first brought the poem to life. There's an emotional quality, and somebody else put it there. There's power, but there's also a fabulous restraint, and there's reflection in a way that keeps that energy present that probably was present when you birthed the poem, and I find that fabulous. Just a remarkable quality. And Lester, I wanted to come to you. Would you share what you just wrote?
Oh.
Yes, I'm sorry, I had to unmute myself.
You make me cry.
Yes, so when my mom and my aunt was in theater, my mom, she's a writer, but coming up, writing and theater and poetry was always like a really important part of my life. When I got older, I chose a different path, and just, long story short, sitting in prison trying to just survive, there wasn't a lot of tangible things that I could put my hands on to give me hope. And my mom would send me books. Like, I was reading Lord of the Rings in prison, and guys were looking at me like, well, this is a huge dictionary-sized novel, but it gave me peace. And then she turned me on to a writer, poet by the name of Khalil Gibran, and she sent me this book, The Prophet. And it absolutely, it took me the times that I needed most poetry, like what she just shared with us, it transcended me out of where I was. And it gave me a sense of hope that when you get out of here, there's still some purpose for you. Yeah. And I would read in my darkest hours, or I would share with some of my cellmates, and, it wasn't the cool thing, but we would get to ourselves and we would empower each other, not only with scripture, but with poetry as well. And when she was reading, it just took me back to that place where I remember what gave me hope when I didn't have any. So that's to me, that's that authentic, uncut poetry. I love it. I appreciate you sharing it. And it's not just the reading of it for me to read it, it's the way you read it. It's I don't know, it's stuck inside of me. I can hold on to those words. And so when I get the book finally, when I'm reading it, I will read it in your voice.
Thank you, Lester.
Thank you.
Oh, that's powerful.
You'll make me cry.
And now,
Try not to cry.
It just, yeah, we're okay with you crying. We want to, I think that's the move, how deeply it moves. Thank you, Karen. There's the cover in case you hadn't seen it in the background. Does anybody have a question for Regina?
Sure. Well,
yes, Sandy.
Well, it's not really a question. It's just, I think I'll speak for my own self. So what struck me is your whole work is almost like it's an internal metaphor. When you think of the perfect mother, she's soft, she's loving, don't mess with her kids, okay? Be it Mother Earth, be it mother, whatever mother means to whomever. And there was not anger in this, there was power in this. And given where we are today as a society, if people could understand, you can walk softly and carry a big stick, but we're never going to get anything by ripping one another apart. It will just not happen. And thank you for the power and the softness of your musical words.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love that power and softness. Olivia, I like what you wrote there. Regina, thank you so very much.
I think Ria's hand is raised. Is that Ria?
Oh, Ria, jump in.
Yes, that is. Regina, and I was trying to see if I could capture it. I'm trying to turn it on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. The question I have, Regina, maybe it was there, and I keep hearing, I know people are doing a reference to mother, but I'm stuck on the title and the fire talker and the fire itself, because I think about people when they're think fire is destroying and it's bad, and no one wants fire, but some farmers and some people use fire to create. They have to destroy everything, the land, start over. Is that where, not sure if that's where you were going?
No,
when you-
actually,
some of
it
these
is.
pieces?
There's actually the whole book actually concludes with a piece called "This Fire Tastes Like," which talks about how there were these fires that destroyed, but there are fires that will rebuild and reconnect and all of that. So yes, in the Firetalker's door, the primary the motif is fire. However, it's not it's a multi-layered kind of concept, and so when we think about it, we think about its potential to destroy, but also its potential to purify, so that something new and something better can be built. And I actually think I think that might be when you go to Finish the Line Press is in there, and I think it's on a blurb somewhere.
Okay.
Too.
Okay.
But yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. That was the whole it's not just a book that's full of, oh, this happened, this was burned down, and there's no hope. It is about the various ways that fire can be used or is used.
Well, I can't imagine a Regina poem without hope, because I tell you what, that's one of the powerful things that I think you can really feel, that physical lifting in a lot of the work. Thank you for that question, Rita.
Yeah.
Well, if there aren't any more questions, we could take a moment to thank Regina, and then we will move to open mic.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Regina.
And the book is coming. I'm not sitting over here with a stack myself, so it should be here. They say April, mid-April. So.
Okay.
And also, yeah, thank you, Karen. I was just going to say, Karen has kindly made sure we've got the link, and she did it once again. Man, you're always ahead of it.
Here she goes. Yay. Okay.
All right. So, Olivia, we are coming to you, and I'm going to not spotlight so that we don't take up any more time. You just welcome to read, and welcome Olivia to our open mic.
Hi, everybody. A little bit about me. I am a pastor's daughter. My daddy, he's a funeral director at Wilkerson. He's been pastoring for over 30 years. And it is not, the life of a pastor's family is not easy. If you've known any pastor's children, any pastor's kids or whatnot, it's not easy. And I'm gonna cry, I know I am. And it has wounded me to my soul sometimes. And your words have been a balm to my soul.
Oh, sweet.
I'm right now. Have anybody ever heard of the deconstructing process? Deconstructing your faith. You take everything apart. When you rebuild an engine, my husband's a mechanic. When you rebuild an engine, you take everything apart and you look at it and you find what works and you find what doesn't and you fix it. And then you put it back together and you try again. And that's part of what I'm doing in my creative writing and part of what I'm doing in my own life and in my faith. And it's an ongoing process, much like purifying gold and silver. Sometimes there's a great fire that comes through and you start all over. And sometimes there's small fires, controlled burns exist. And when I was in 8th grade, we did a little poetry. As we did a poetry recitation, we had to find a poem, we had to memorize it as part of our assignment. And the winners, we kind of did a little contest, and the winners got to perform. And this is a poem by Helen Steiner Rice that I performed in 8th grade, and it has been, in the most unexpected of times, a great companion in my mind and on my heart.
Sweet.
Is the cross you wear too heavy to bear? Complainingly, I told myself this cross is too heavy to bear. And I wondered discontentedly why God gave it to me to bear. I looked with envy at others whose crosses seemed lighter than mine, and I wished I could change my cross for one of a lighter design. And then in a dream, I beheld the cross that I impulsively wanted to wear. It was fashioned of pearls and diamonds and gems that were precious and rare. And when I hung it about my neck, the weight of the jewels and the gold was much too heavy and cumbersome for my small and slender neck to hold. So I tossed it aside, and then before my eyes was a cross of rose-red flowers. And I said with delight as I put it on, this cross I could wear for hours, for it was so dainty and fragile. It was so lovely, light and thin. But I'd forgotten about the thorns that started to pierce my skin. And then, in a dream, I saw my cross, rugged, old, and plain. That clumsy cross that I'd looked upon with discontented disdain. And at last I knew that God had made that special cross for me. For God in his great wisdom knew what I before could not see. That often the loveliest crosses are the heaviest crosses to bear. For only God is wise enough to know the cross that we can wear. So never complain about your cross, for your cross has been blessed. God made it just for you to wear. And remember, God knows best. It's simple. I love it. It's simple, it's clear, it's childlike, and I believe, at least, this is just my personal faith, my personal journey, and I believe that regardless of your faith, regardless of your perspective, everybody has a purpose on this earth that only they can fulfill, and a spot in this earth that was made for them. And everybody deserves a chance to freely walk that path. And as a woman, and as an ally, and as a supporter and a fellow protector of man, of woman, of children, of the elderly, of those who cannot speak for themselves, cannot defend themselves, I believe this is part of my purpose, to share my perspective, share my story, because the beauty of storytelling and the beauty of music and the beauty of song is just, it's indescribable. And it is a powerful and unique thing about us, about humanity, that ought not go to waste. And I don't intend to waste it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you. Christy, you're next.
Okay, this poem is new, and it's because Regina sent me prompts, and this came out of that. So this is a little bit of my attitude. Self-portrait as a spoon. I stand ready to mine my own pot liquor joy. The bowl of me tempers heat, all that is hard to swallow. The tip of me taste a sometimes sour stench, scattered across flappy, far-reaching tongues, yet my neck does not shy away. A handle forges peace, keeps the whole of me, steadies flavors no one else has ever stomached. My polish is not my shine. I am a fire-flecked, stirred by sun-sweet tea, art in progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Oh, I love this open mic. Christina, I'm heading to you, and make sure after you read that you check the chat section for comments.
Hi. That was
Hi.
fabulous, that poem, Christy. We have poetry jam sessions every other week together, so I love hearing everybody's work. I was going to read you the new poem I just had published, but it's a little too personal, and somebody's already cried now. I think I'd cry if I read it, so I'm not going to read that one. I'm going to read a different one. And if you want to hit mute just a second, this one's not published yet, or if you want to stop the recording just in case I want to.
Speaking the unspoken and hearing the unheard. The right hand of sharing and the left hand of uncertainty converge upon us. We travel through visions together. Treachery beckons, certainty shuns us. Truth cannot be trusted, and we are glad. We embrace the unfinished, and so turn upon ourselves to doubt, to question, to stay the course. What mechanism isn't this? There was never a destination, but the cues of the infinite, better and multiply. And it is whispered, it is no use to continue. We turn our distracted gratitude to each other and altering compound devotion to the extremities of wonder. We live in our distorted continuing and the mystery of us. We are here. We have always been here, and we will be here after we have gone.
Thank you, Julio.
Thank you.
Oh boy. Karen, I'm coming to you, and I just want to remind people, it is time, and if you have to leave, I totally understand.
And it's always good to leave before I share a poem.
No.
This is a short one, some fresh ink. Considering after theory of flight. Thorns bloom from the blue rivers running beneath the braids of flesh in the bends of my wrists. You can't see they're wicked. I keep my hands close to my heart, not folding, though I may be bluffing. When I press palms and fingers together, touch fingers to chin and nod and close eyes, neither of us yeses or nos whether I am praying or pray or not.
Karen, I love that. Not folding, but though I may be bluffing. Yeah, so awesome. Olivia, oh, I already got you. Gary, I'm coming to you.
Thank you, Malika, and thank you so much, Regina. Greetings, everybody from Central California. This is a very new poem that arose out of a left margin lit poetry super PAC prompt, which was basically choose someone who's beloved to you, ask that person 10 questions, and give 2 directions or suggestions. On Monday, my wife and I will be flying to Maryland to be on hand for the birth of our second granddaughter. And so this is what happened. Interrogatives for one about to be born in spring. I already love you, so you don't have to do much more than be here when you choose. Being old, though, I have questions I hope you can answer whenever you've a mind to. What's it like to enter the atmosphere? Whose face did you most want to see when you arrived? When is the best time for letting us all know your needs? Where is the light you will carry when I run out of matches? And what are your favorite candles? When and where did you awaken to radiance? What magic have you learned? And what will you teach us? I don't yet know the names you'll be given, but what is your true name? When you teach me mine, will you be kind? What will you rebel against, and will it be like what I protested? How do you see your legacy? As soon as you can study the epistemology of empathy, do that. For as long as you can practice discernment and avoid judgment, do that. Oh yes, and if you can, remember. Thank you.
Oh, that's gorgeous, Gary. Thank you. Yeah, I think everybody's in love with that. Andy, I am coming to you. Or you could just unmute and start talking.
I don't have anything to say. However, oops, because I'm sort of the poetic virgin here, the oldest probably, but I haven't been deflowered yet. So are we supposed to ask that you shut off the recording if something's not been printed that we're going to send out?
It is what a lot of people do, and I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Laura, yeah, and remember to check the chat section because there's comments being written. Laura, you could just unmute. Thank you.
Yep, I'm here. This is a short one. I wrote it a while ago, but I've been thinking about it, so I did a little work on it, called Sewing Bee. Is the quilt on your lap the landscape of a life or a map that marks the seasons? You based with care while a cigarette smolders at your side, lit, then forgotten in its tray. Counting and recounting the stitches of a life, your quotidian chatter, Betty has broken her hip. The Beechers moved to Florida, merges with Ernie calling baseball on the radio at your side. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Oh, that's awesome. I had two people send me messages. So Cal and then Shamala, I will come to you. Cal, you can unmute. And those will be our last two readers for tonight.
There we go. Thank you. This is another one from my book, Mystical Fictions, and it's called Portrait One, Leo Cote.
Is anybody else?
Dow's there for 33 years. He left school, Leo did, but still. Excuse me.
Cal, we were having trouble hearing you. It sounds like it might have cleared up. So you're fine.
Something's, yeah, the bandwidth may be a problem.
I think you're good.
People seem to be cutting in a lot too. I guess seeing that. But anyway, he left school, Leo did, was expelled at 15 and went to work at the mill, his only recourse. And year after year, he has walked down Cumberland Street at 7 in the morning. He said, I've been working the same room now 33 years. 33 years, it seemed like a long time. I count my fingers when I punch into that clock, and every day I count them again when I punch out. If the count's the same both times, it's been a good day. Leo, great cheater, great liar. They say the great schemer, player, boozer, and informer for the revenuers. Leo, who used to have to run home, had pulled down over his eyes so the bootleggers wouldn't recognize him. Yet once, twice, maybe more times, they almost shot him dead. 33 years in the same room, Leo looked soberly off into a wall, contemplating the year's history, the men who came and went, and the shady deals, their wives. Leo nods, suppressing a smile of pride. Thank you.
Thank you, Cal. And our final reader is Shamala. You're welcome to unmute. Thank you.
Hi. So this isn't a long piece or actually even a finished poem. It's just an image. The first couple of days of rain in California after all these years of drought. And I took an early morning walk, and this is just the feel of that moment because it was too much of a wonder not to capture it. Rain and water in the creeks and catchment ponds. Geese and ducks playful, not strained. Water-washed world clean and sparkling. Colors extra bright. Every object, leaf, tree, bark, stalking cat or singing bird, richer, deeper, more varied to look upon. Each color now a dozen colors. Birds singing a many-voiced glee, as loud as the rushing traffic, but more innocent, new. relieved, renewed. Heron stalking frog as I walk by swollen waters.
Mm.
So, thank you.
Thank you. I love the gratitude that's in that, just in how rain can change everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Regina, I love the resonance of your voice. It's very beautiful. It did work really
Thank
well
you.
with that poem. Thank you all for being here, for celebrating with Regina. Regina, thank you for amazing time, and open micers, thank you so much for sharing your work. And every time somebody reads, I think it takes so much courage to open and do that. Yeah. So thank you guys. Be well.